What's up, Falcon Nation? Voice of the Friends Falcons, Pat Strathman, here with another edition for the Friends University Coaches Show from Chicken Max. I'm joined by head football coach Terry Harrison, who's to my right, and to my left, special teams coach and recruiting coordinator Eric Kelly. Let me tell you about where we are. We're here at Chicken Max. We've been here all throughout the season. 3 locations in Wichita. We are at the Weston Maple location, 325 Southwest Street. Chicken Max, locally owned and hatched right here in Wichita, known for their legendary sandwiches, taking the chicken sandwich to the max. Their smoked chicken is smoked in almond wood every day, several times a day in each location, giving it a fresh, unique flavor. Savory sides like mac and cheese, mashed potatoes and gravy, potato salad, coleslaw, and much more. Club salads and power bowls with their smoked chicken for a healthy choice. Several sauces unique to Chicken Max. We thank them for their support here for the Friends University Coaches Show all throughout the year. Well, it's the regular season finale for the Friends University Falcons as they take on the Avila Eagles on the road. We'll dive into that matchup, and of course, we'll recap the home finale, which took place this past weekend. A showdown with number 10 Southwestern. The final score 28-0, but Friends was right there at halftime, down 7-0. Really had a chance in the second half, but Southwestern ultimately getting the win. And Coach, I guess let's start with that. Just your overall thoughts. 28-0. Southwestern, a very quality club. I know they're extremely banged up. Brad Griffin and I were talking about just how banged up they were, but they're still a very quality team, and especially on defense. Their defense is absolutely outstanding. So your thoughts on the 28-0 ball game?
Yeah, it's that time of year. Everybody's banged up a little bit and fighting through injuries, right? And we're proud that our guys have, for the most part, we've avoided, major injuries, and our guys are fairly healthy. So, that's the thing. But, yeah, like you talked about, number 10 team in the country. And, I think we talked about how it was another opportunity for us to play a top 20 team. Our last opportunity, we didn't play so well. And we didn't necessarily have a chance to win that one. So, you fast forward to, weeks of games in between and practice and our team improving, and really we had opportunities to win the game, and we're just not there yet as a program today or last week, right? And that's, that's okay, even though it's frustrating in the middle of it. So, I think we learned a lot about that. We've seen the improvements we've made, and found some more things to work on, and it gave our kids an opportunity. Our big focus was, look, let's you want to dissect a loss, right, and look at that. Okay, what's the difference between the number 10 team in the country and then us where we're at today, right? And you're like, where can you point at? And I think I think there are 30 plus seniors on the roster. Yeah. I think we've looked at a lot. The top 3 or 4 teams in the conference all have 30 plus seniors, and we're not there yet. We walked out 11 on Saturday, and I think that's there's something to learn from that as a program, right? I mean, it's a deal where, if you can maintain your gratitude for Friends University, that commitment you made to building something truly special, it's a very simple, it's kind of the simple formula, but not easy, right? To stick it out and, stick it out through a rough season, stick it out through a rough loss, right? And continue to show up every week. And the cool part is our guys have done that. Never been more encouraged to be at Friends and, what our kids have done. And so, when you look at that razor thin line of 7-0 deep into the third, if not in the fourth quarter, with an opportunity to be the number 10 team in the country, and we want to be in those positions and moving forward, as we continue to build this program, retain these young men, and recruit other players to join us. We're knocking on the door of where we're the number 10 team in the country, and we're looking at potential playoff bids and all those things. And so it's one of those deals. That's what you look at and what you learn from that game. But the fact that I felt like we had some highlights, certainly, especially defensively, where guys played really well as a unit and individually, and had a shot to win there in the fourth, and we just weren't there yet as a program.
All right, Coach Kelly, I'll open up the floor to you now.
About
the game, 28-0.
Well,
rookie over here.
Yeah. Sorry, it's my first time, man. No, defense absolutely played phenomenal. We just couldn't really get a rhythm on offense, and it was always we didn't help ourselves at all by putting ourselves in bad down and distances and penalties, and so it's kind of hard to, as an offense, to be really efficient in what we run, and when you're down 5 yards, 10 yards back, 1st and 20, 1st and 15. And so to catch a rhythm on that against a top 10 team, you can't do that.
Yeah, without question. Look, all right, there you go. Yeah, we got him going
from rookie to pro, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He entered as a rookie, left as a pro.
It's always that first one you got to ask, and all of a sudden he just opens up. So looking forward to more here. But yeah, Coach, it's 7-0 there in the second quarter. at the very end, you guys actually get a touchdown on the board. It was a touchdown pass, a 31-yarder. Austin Pratt getting the touchdown right there in the end zone. It was kind of a unique one because it was like a floater there for Jack going up against that very stiff breeze that made it very difficult once again. And it just fell right to Austin, and they just kind of backpedaled into the end zone. It was a touchdown, but fortunately some dirty laundry on the field, and maybe that's probably the biggest thing to note of the last 2 weeks, just maybe too many penalties to overcome.
Yeah, that's it's incredibly frustrating, and officiating's a tough job, and we do not want to be a part of a program, and no one does, by the way, players, coaches, or families. You don't want to be somewhere where anytime you struggle, you blame officiating, or you want to point at officiating, or the expectation of officiating to bail you out of a game. We absolutely do not want to be that program, and but it sure was hard to not be that way a couple times, right? And so we go back and watch the film, and honestly, the officials were correct. They made the right call. They weren't wrong, even though it hurts when it happens, and that's the deal you have to learn. So what you want to do as a coach of a program and the leader of these young men is, hey, instead of blaming officials for a loss, man, find a way to call back in and bounce back in. And and we didn't do that, but certainly it was a really cool play. It was wide open. I'm the offensive line coach. We had a couple holding penalties and another chop block penalty that was, man, it was untimely, and it caused us to really struggle. What Coach Kelly talked about, he hit the nail on the head, man. On the first and long is hard, but third and long is even harder. I mean, what do you do? And that's that was incredibly frustrating. So that play particularly was awesome. He was wide open, and Jack had a little pressure and got it out. And man, it sure was fun. Before you look back and see those flags, like, all right, here we go. We're about to go into half tied with the number 10 team in the country. Get the ball at half with an opportunity to go ahead. And it is crazy, man, how football's such a crazy game. That's why it's the greatest game in the world and the most frustrating. That penalty situation, which we deserved, was the difference between tied game, getting the ball, and then frustrating, and then a blocked field goal. And that's man, it sure was tough, but it was fun to see. And man, it had that little brief moment of like, here we go, and it just wasn't in the end, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I might have reflected my call too, because I'm pretty sure I did like one of these little let's go, because I'm like, all right, here we go, it's a tie ball game going into halftime, but unfortunately that's just the way it happened. So Coach Kelly brought up the defense, and you talked about the defense as well. At the end of the day, 357 yards is what it shows for Southwestern, 6.5 yards per play, balanced there a little bit. They had 123 yards to the air with Brad Cagle. And that's the other thing, too. Going into that game, you guys are preparing for basically 3 quarterbacks because you don't know who's going to be out there. It could be Luke Barnes. It could be Brad Cagle. It could be Thomas Yam. Maybe it could be someone else. You know, they have so many different guys at QB. But at the end of the day, holding a team 1 of 9 on third downs, what does that say about this unit and how well they played on Saturday?
We have focused so hard on third down, offensively, defensively, and the games we've won and the games we've been very competitive, should have won, or whatever you want to say, we've really done a great job on third down. And defensively, they did a fantastic job. And, you look at those total yards, there was a couple of really big plays that really cut in. And it can skew that, a little bit, because I think our defense played phenomenally. And more than that, they played great on third down, which you just talked about. And then we had the ball, I believe, 5 times on our own side of the 50 over the course of the game. And I believe at least 3 of those were in the first half. And so, when you get that opportunity and you have the field position, man, you sure wish as a program that you can capitalize on that. And I can tell you, it wasn't a lack of trying. It wasn't a lack of effort. It's not a play calling thing. We were never, I think what Coach Kelly said, he used the word in rhythm, right? Or this idea of being in sync. And we just weren't, and you go back and, if it's 11 players on offense, there was 2 that maybe not on the same page for whatever reason. And, there were certainly some very, very frustrating parts as a coach and as our players too. Like, just that it just never felt like we had any rhythm on offense. So what you've got to do, like what you mentioned there, is like defense played so great. We got the ball in short fields and the wind helped us, right? We were in great field. We were oriented correctly with the wind the entire game. We just had so many opportunities there, and we just weren't able to capitalize. And I can tell you, it's kind of a crazy. It's almost like feeling like a parent watching our kids play because they care so much, they try so hard, they play so hard, and to come up short, it's borderline heartbreaking because I want nothing but for success for these kids, and we just weren't able to do it. And so that's but again, going back to defense, they played great, especially third down, and definitely more than that, getting us the ball on our side of the 50.
Yeah, and definitely there are multiple instances. There's one instance where you guys had the ball, I believe it was at the Southwestern 32 after a rough punt, and the very first play was a fumble. And Zach never fumbles.
Yeah.
And Zach just dropped the ball, and I just said on the air, I was like, well, that's his second fumble. And I believe the first fumble of the season for Zach, I believe, was against Oklahoma Panhandle.
Right.
The very first game of the season.
Yeah, that's the deal, right? We don't, what do you do? It's just, man, that Dressler, he's been a warrior, played with. Yeah. I mean, I think the first game we thought we thought there was potential we were going to lose Zach for the season due to a broken hand. It's the same thing that Lakin had to go. We thought, honestly, it looked like a minute we were going to have that. And so, I mean, Zach has been an absolute warrior. And, I mean, that's the only way to describe it. I know I've said it on this show. And so, yeah, when the ball goes on the ground, defense ran out there and they owned it, and they wanted to go out there and get a stop and go play and try to get us the ball back. And it just Zach's been a leader of this team. Without a doubt, very frustrated. We didn't even have to get on him. He was pretty frustrated with himself, because that's not who he wants to be, and it's not who he is, man. I think that dude's fumbled probably less than 3 times his entire life, and 2 of them happen to be, whatever, however you want to do it. But bad timing is what it is, and we're going to give him the ball another billion times over the course of his career. So there you go.
Well, signing up for 30 car crashes a game, as Coach Reed likes to say it, which I absolutely love. I love that phrase, and going to use it for forever. So it's just the way it is. So. Well, Coach Kelly, when you're dealing with wind these last couple of weeks in Wichita, man, I tell you, from a special teams coach aspect, it's like, holy smokes, what do you do? How do you try to combat something like that?
Well, on kickoff and kickoff return, we really focus on kind of peppering in sky kicks and kicking into the wind, making sure our backs and our tight ends, those guys that are behind the front line guys, are always prepared. And their eye keys are right, seeing the ball off the foot and making sure it's away from their spot, because that's a hard lesson we had to learn week 2 or 3. And then we revamped our kickoff and kickoff return team in these last couple weeks, and our guys, I mean, we housed a sky kick against McPherson. Yeah. Yep. Just being prepared, and that's how we deal with wind. Eventually you stop getting sky kicked when you house one. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's one on Saturday where there's a sky kick by Southwestern, and if you're not prepared for it, that's a turnover.
Yeah. I can't remember. I think it was Ricky who fair caught it, and that was actually a very tough.
Yeah, it was a tough play.
The ball was floating away from his body, and he still caught it. So it was awesome play by him.
Well, you want to talk about an area I think that's really improved a whole heck of a lot this year. It's been your special teams, I feel like, right? From game 1 to now, I feel like it's a completely different unit.
Yeah, and a part of that is Coach Harrison being able to, put his foot down and be like, this is like,
What do you mean? Coach Kemp says that he's been a softie all year long. What are you talking about?
No, just being able to have like, all hands on deck for kickoff and kickoff return, and not letting a kid not get coached during kickoff return, and whereas that necessarily wasn't the case. We were still doing a good job. It just wasn't as good of a job as we are doing now, and so there's no detail that's not being overlooked, and I think that's definitely showed up. The last couple of weeks, our kickoff team's been money. Our kickoff return team's been awesome. So yeah. There's a bright spot right there.
There is a bright spot. There are a lot of bright spots going forward, and I know we can talk about that going forward. All right, Coach Harrison, I think I allowed you to talk like you gushed over Coach Kemp and you gushed over Coach Reed. So you got the young buck over here, Coach Kelly, who, or at least I feel like he's a young buck. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't know his age compared to the rest of you guys.
He's not going to say any nice things, man.
Well, I'm just stunned that we got you here with no sunglasses on. That's the one thing I was kind of surprised with.
Pit vipers inside.
Exactly. Yeah. He's not here with those pit vipers. So, but Coach Kelly, one of those guys that's, we talk about continuity, and we talk about Coach Reed and Coach Kemp and how important it is to kind of keep those coaches around, and Coach Kelly is one of those guys, and something tells me his path to get to your coaching staff is probably a little bit more unique than Coach Kemp and Coach Reed.
Yeah, very, extremely, and so I think, gosh, I used to watch drill tape of Coach Kelly when he was a player, through the coaches he played for in college. And so didn't know him, but I knew exactly who he was just from watching him practice as a college player. And then, when I got hired at a previous school, the coaches there said, hey, we have this guy that, wants to coach college football, and you should reach out to him. And so I met EK, I think I met EK I can't remember the first time if it was actually at Harding University or if it was in Wichita. I don't remember.
It was in Wichita. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So I told Coach, he was just a young guy who, lesson in gratitude, right? He had graduated, played 4 years at Harding University, played through his graduate deal there, ended up getting a job in the corporate world. Did that for however many months, and realized that he was called to coach, and was looking for an opportunity. And that's as I was transitioning from high school to college, and really on a whim, he's like, "Hey, I'm all in." I'm like, "Look, you need to come up here first and see it." You know what I mean? So he drove up, and that was the first time I met him, and we met in Wichita. Of course, I was at Bethel at the time, and I made him come and see it, and at least know what this is and how hard this is going to be. And this was before we'd ever coached a game in college. I'd only been a high school football coach, and he was all in. From there. He joined us, and actually what's crazy, I had to finish when my first job. I had to finish teaching at Heights High School. So I was teaching the spring semester when I was at Bethel. I was teaching every day at Heights High School driving up to Bethel after school.
Oh my gosh!
Well, Coach Kelly was full time at Bethel, holding down the ship. He was, he was the captain of the ship there, meeting all the players coming up that we had no idea who they were. And it's like, Coach Kelly, doing the weight room, everything. Young guy, never coached a down of football in his life. But anyway, from there, we just like a program, right? It's kind of funny. As a program, we talk about you need to go through some hard times together. Well, even as a staff, we had to do that. Had no idea we'd be able to, to build a successful college football team on. It was just a group of guys who were, committed to doing something a certain way. But anyway, we've done that. We coached offense together there, and we were doing that at Bethel up until Coach Reed joined us, and he was able to add to us. And it's been awesome to try to the coolest part has been, I worked with Coach Kelly, not EK. I worked with Coach Kelly, and I was the O-line guy, and he was doing the backfield stuff. I mean, he only heard my version of football, and we worked together, and we won a conference championship there at Bethel, doing it that way. And then, honestly, Coach Reed joining us has been awesome because it's everybody's got their own style and their own vibe. And so now, as a young coach who is bound and determined, I think he'll be a better coach than I've ever even thought about being, over the course of his career. Now he's been able to learn from Coach Reed, right, and build his, whatever you want to call it, just his coaching philosophy and this coaching acumen, right? And he's been able to do that, and then obviously being around Coach Kemp all the time. So that's been really cool. And, outside of that, just being friends, I'm at a different stage in my life with 3 young kids, right? But, man, we spend so much time together during the day. But between coaching and then on the recruiting side, man, we want to bring in the best players, and I want to bring in better players than EK does. And it's a competition, right? And that's where we really get after it. But, outside of that, more than just the coaching aspect, his wife Abby's so awesome. They're just cool people that he recruits so hard, and it's way more. I've learned from him on the recruiting front simply the relationships he has with kids when they get here, how he treats them, and just how close they've been. And I think he's got more All-Americans as a recruiting guy than I do.
So what I'm hearing is what I need like an Excel sheet, an Excel file, and that way I can just keep tracking his stats right there. Who's who?
Yeah, we compete all the time.
Yeah, we have.
But beyond that, and then not to get, but you want to talk about just an opportunity. Loyal dude, without a doubt, said, "Hey, we're at Bethel, winning, had so much success. Like, hey, we're gonna go to Friends." He's like, "Where do we, let's pack it up, bro. Where do we put our bags and let's go get it on? And how do we? When can I start sending offers out? You know what I mean?" And so that's been cool, and that means to me that's the most important thing. But knowing that we have a group of dudes that are all in together, and he's the best example of that I could think of. And so, yeah, it's been super cool. Super proud of him. Like I said, I think he will be a better coach than I ever thought about being. He's just a young gun right now, you know what I mean? But he's very proud of him. His parents are awesome and how they've embraced it. He could probably spout out more, but he was essentially paying to coach his first year, not making anything, and he's earned his way. So it's been very, very cool. And I think when you find people like EK, I truly believe that he is in a position that he was born to do, that God put him on this earth to be a college football coach, and more than that, a recruiting coordinator. And so it's cool to see guys live that out when you think that's, in my estimation, that's what he put on earth to do. And it's pretty cool and pretty motivating.
Okay, so I need a point during the corporate world when you thought, you know what, this isn't for me. I want to go be a coach.
Well, the call he was talking about is when he called me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really think it was an option until he called me, and I was like, yeah, I'm out. Yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah, that was the moment.
Yeah. I was actually at work sitting at my desk, and I was just like,
twiddling your thumbs.
Yeah, I'm gone. And I just took out a 11-month lease. like a month before he called.
Oh my gosh!
So when he was talking about like I was making negative dollars my first year, so definitely worth it though.
To say the least.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. So that's all it took was just a simple phone call, and you're like, okay, cool, done.
Yeah. As soon as he mentioned my old coaches, and they were like, and they verified, it was like, yeah, they're awesome people. I was like, all right, I'm in.
That's all it took.
Yeah.
It was just you calling your coaches and going, hey, tell me about this guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it was less of like, dude, you need to take this job, and I was like, oh, yes, sir. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? When you're around some people that you trust for 6 years, it's like when you hear their advice, Coach Wheaton, Coach Underwood, Coach Huckabee, and they were like, he's awesome people. Mm-hmm. You would love this. You'd do really good at it. You should take it. And I was like, I'm gone, So yeah. Then from there, it was like a week later. I was up in Wichita, like, I'm in here,
But you said yes before even like seeing the campus and anything, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
it was my first opportunity to mentor him.
Yeah,
you need to come see it.
Yeah. It's again, it's just like recruiting. It ain't about the facilities and all that stuff. So that's why I love going to work every day, just because the office is hilarious. We have a good time. There's days where you're like, oh man, I'm tired. This is really hard, obviously. But most of the time, it's like, who's gonna get joked on today in the office? At some point in the day.
Who gets joked on the most?
Coach Kim.
All right, we'll get that on record.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so I enjoy being around these dudes. That's the best recruiting pitch I can tell any parents is like, how many coaches that are coaching you love the guys that they're around, and so it makes work way easier.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. That's what it is, right?
Yeah. Oh no, listen, if my wife is watching this, work is extremely hard, and sometimes it's just punching the clock. And, it's not fun at all. It is a grind. We do not have fun in the office. We strictly work extremely hard all the time. So there you go.
Oh man. So recruiting coordinator. So. What's that like? I guess all this stuff. I know it's a team effort. It's not just one person doing everything. But when you think of that nowadays recruiting, I would say it's already changed so much in the last 5 years. I would argue, not even like the last 10. I'm talking the last 5, maybe even the last 3, because you've had to adapt with the pandemic first and foremost. Like that, mm-hmm. That in itself is a challenge. Social media is now so huge compared to other things. Like if you don't send a good luck social media post to someone, I feel like you're missing out because 15 other colleges are doing it. So that's just an example. I'm not saying I'm not criticizing or anything like that. I'm just saying nowadays it's so much different compared to previous years. So in what ways has recruiting changed in your eyes?
Oh, you don't have to do any groundwork. If you're a bad recruiter,
mm-hmm.
You don't have to do any groundwork. You can just wait on Twitter and wait till somebody else offers somebody, mm-hmm. and then I want that kid, which happens so much in on our level and even even higher levels. It's they don't it's not about relationships that you've built with coaches or anything like that. It is, but it also equally cannot be. And so my job as recruiting coordinator has been just being able to especially young guys and coaches that got a lot on their plate, is being able to make sure that we're doing stuff that other coaches aren't willing to do, and making sure that we're touching all of our bases that we need to on kids and their families. And it's just recruiting can be as personable as you make it, or it can just be as general of mass email offers, and it's a wide spectrum. And so that's where recruiting has changed. Is you can be the laziest recruiter in the world, and some poor kid doesn't know the difference.
Great, I got a shot. That's great. I got a shot at this.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. So that's the craziest part, and what drives us nuts as coaches, because we work really hard at it. Is it's just the time and the amount of effort that we put into it, compared to people who just wait on Twitter for a Twitter offer to be posted.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the craziest part. Whereas 10 years ago that wasn't happening.
Well, see, that's what I mean. In the last 5 years, you see a post like every week of like, hey, you get this graphic, and like it's just a constant thing. Like I feel like it's so much different compared to what I saw before I even got to really the KCAC. Like, I mean, I saw a few things, but it wasn't anything like it was today, where it's like it's constant.
Yeah, it's and that's the part of recruiting you really like, though, is if you are good at it, it is always constant and it's always changing, and there's ups and downs, but the ups are way better than the downs, and so and it's fun. It's really the best part about the recruiting the kids that we recruit is we recruit really good kids.
I was just going to ask about what kid are you actually looking for? If someone's watching right now just going, all right, is that going to fit for me? Is that not going to fit for me? Obviously, everything's different. It's a case-by-case basis, but at the end of the day, the core is what you're looking for, the core values.
And I don't know what we should speak on and what we should not speak on.
Sorry. Don't worry about that part. I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm not trying to say, like, give everything. Don't give out the playbook. Yeah. It's not all I was trying to get at. But, like Coach Harrison, BTF, Big Tough Falcon. So being a tough kid, winners, right? I mean, those are probably two of the biggest ones out of all of them.
The absolute biggest thing you can say is, do you enjoy being around the kid? If you don't enjoy being around him or talking to him, don't recruit him. Yeah. If you enjoy him, recruit the crap out of him. Yep. And that's a pretty cut and dry recruiting deal for us. Is like, if we're not going to coach a kid for 4 years that we do not like and we do not like being around, because nobody's that good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Especially, and so that's also what makes practices so awesome, and also our job so awesome. Yeah. Is that we get to pick who around every day. Exactly. And we like our kids, so.
Yeah, and I think the cool part, what EK's done a good job of is that, educating parents. And I honestly, as a former high school teacher and coach, we tell people as much like, hey, we ain't for you. There's some people we're not for, certainly. And we try to educate parents and families and coaches and all that stuff. And being a former Kansas high school football coach, we work really hard to educate people on, how to make a decision, how to make an informed decision. And then when you add the way we've always recruited like that, with the relationships Coach Kelly's talked about, and the way to find, people that we really want and that are for us, when you get them on campus, and now we have people meeting our families. What a compliment to our current families. The biggest feedback we have is how awesome our kids are, how great they treat our families, and then just, man, the feel that these parents that are recruit families are feeling from our current families, and it's going to attract people that are like us, because in the end, that's what you want, right? If you have a family atmosphere like Coach Kelly, and we've been challenged to recruit to these perfect fits for Fringe University, and for our football program, when we are the number 10 team in the country, and when we win conference championships, you can look back and be thankful and enjoy it, as opposed to, it's very easy, which you guys both kind of talked about. You can build a program that you can win, and you can hate it every day. And so what our goal is, if it takes us 3 years, or if it takes us 30 years to win a national championship, when we do that, we want people to look back and be extremely thankful for it, and have made lifelong friends, not like, yeah, we were good, but, right? And I think that's what Coach Kelly's done the best job of, is directing us, how do you find those kids? And right now it's going phenomenally well, and it's a huge testament to him directing our recruiting, and then our current families and the atmosphere they've created at Friends, despite, we've had a great year, right? But lost some tough ones and some close ones. But when these families see us and they see how our people interact, Friends is a no-brainer for anyone considering, coming to Kansas and playing ball. So it's been super cool, and at some level easy to recruit to when you have the university of Friends University and everything we have to offer. That part's extremely easy, and then when they come and they see the way our families treat people, man, it makes our job super easy in recruiting.
Yeah, nice and simple. And speaking of families, so you got a little dinner coming up here before too long?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, talk about these families, right? So we have our current families. They're doing our team meal Friday, so that's how we're going to kind of finish our season on Friday. We're going to have practice, give our guys a chance to take a shower, clean up, and we're going to have our players, all of our guys hanging out with, families that are cooking a home-cooked meal for them, and just a last opportunity on a Friday to be together, because you know how it goes, right? After the season, it is so. We're going to lift hard and we're going to be together, but it is right now we spend so much time together, and it's going to be that last Friday where we get to be together like that, and that'll be super cool. Man, thankful to those parents, and so much gratitude for those families that put that together, because they did it out of it was their own heart, and their own willingness to serve, and so we're super excited about that, and that'll be tomorrow night.
Thank you, Red Corns.
Yeah, the Red Corns helped that.
I finally met
Kyle, Dylan Dalton, Dylan Phillips family.
Yep.
awesome. And then, I mean, all those families that have really helped it big time in the tailgating. So it's more than just one, but all those families that really helped, and that's who we've been communicating with. So I think there's been some donations on the financial side too from other families that I'm probably unaware of. But man, awesome, and we look forward to that, and we're going to be able to just be together and enjoy each other, and I'm looking forward to that tomorrow.
Yeah, I finally met Mr. Redcorn, so that was
steak on a stick, man. Let's go. That's a challenge. Steak on a stick. Let's go.
I couldn't help it. Just like your son is pretty funny. He's like, man, I don't know who that was. I was like, well, I'm glad I was able to bring that out of him because, come on, offensive linemen, they're supposed to be the best personalities on the team. So if that's not the case, then something went drastically wrong. So there you go. That's your challenge. Recruit offensive linemen with personality, which shouldn't be too hard.
Very easy.
No, Gene Pants Jantz.
He's in there. Yeah, that's right. We got them all, man. That's a young freshman. He'll be coming soon.
Yeah.
So what's up with the shades?
Oh, well, actually, I'm not the originator. So actually, it was probably our young guns, our GAs, our graduate assistants that, they just showed up one day and all of them had pit vipers, and I was like, I'm in on this, And then Coach Kemp's in on it, and, it's just everybody's got pit vipers, and so it was just kind of a deal of like, a little camaraderie, if you will, of like a little uniformity, and it's definitely it's probably a little lame too, but it's really fun.
It's not lame. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm always
in
picking
a good
up
way.
on those things. You know what I mean?
It's a good lame. You know what I'm saying? It's only corny.
Now our kids are wearing them.
Yeah. It's the difference between corny and cool is if everybody does it or not, baby.
And we're all doing it.
Good to know. All right. Good to know. I would ask what Coach Kemp gets joked about all the time, but we're not going to go down the road. We're gonna keep it above the belt here, if you will. So, Coach, I guess one final question about the last game, and then we'll turn our attention to Avila. 11 guys out there on the field, able to celebrate Senior Day. I know we were talking about the seniors, but to actually see the Senior Day festivities, I feel like it's always different in the hear from those kids on the PA talking about their families or whatever. Hey, I want to say thank you to so on and so forth. I thought that was nice touch and a huge line too. They all just kind of walked on through and everyone's standing and clapping. I was like, man, this is a pretty neat little celebration.
Yeah, always cool, right? It's always hard. Like, I think I told the fan back, look, I'm sorry. I mean, how do you thank someone for 4 years of time they put into a place and do it in a pregame to where it's enough? It's not, right? You can't show enough gratitude for these families that have been here and committed to this, right? But we try and give them a souvenir football and all that good stuff. But so seeing all those guys so thankful for their time, they've been awesome and they've embraced us from day one. And now they're one of the guys. We will be lifelong friends, and those guys will come back and they will have built this program that we're developing still and treating as a startup. But that was cool. I will tell you one thing that really stood out to me as we move on from that day. It's the first Senior Day I've been a part of. And I think it's good for the families to hear it, because if you've only been at Friends University, you may not be aware. But I've been at a lot of Senior Days now. It's the first one I've been at that the president was on the field and shook hands with every player. The athletic director was on the field. There were two. The strength coach was on the field. There were two professors on the field giving kids hugs. And to me, man, that was really reaffirming to me. Like, Friends is a special place, and there's going to be challenges and there's going to be frustrations, and nowhere is perfect. We all know that. It's just life in general. Nothing's perfect. But, man, that is truly a special thing, and that does not happen everywhere. And I've yet to see – that's the first time I've ever seen. And it was good for me and kind of made me step back to see you can come to Friends University. The president's going to know who you are. They're going to thank you for the time you put in, the effort you put in, even though that's not enough. The athletic director is going to thank you, even though that's not enough. And you'll have professors and faculty athletic representatives who care about you so much that they show up for you on your Senior Day. And while that's a small gesture, I've never been somewhere that made it even that gesture, and I think that speaks a lot about Friends University.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Well, this week you wrap up the regular season. It's another ranked team on the road in Kansas City. I would argue, I know there's some tough places to play in the KCAC, but there's something about going to Kansas City that just makes it even more challenging. Like, there are some tough places to play in the KCAC without question, but the Z is just a different feel when you go to Kansas City. And on top of that, they have a lot on the line. If they get a win, more than likely, I think they have the tiebreaker over Bethel and Southwestern or Kansas Wesleyan. So with them having the tiebreaker, so it's like, man, that opens everything up. So they're going to be extremely motivated. Coach Mark Benavidez and the Avila Eagles, when they joined the conference, I think everyone was trying to figure out how well are they going to fit in this conference.
Right.
Found out pretty quick they're going to compete every single year. They're going to be freakishly athletic. You're going to their turf, so that in itself is going to be just crazy. So I guess when you look at the regular season finale, I guess there's no better place to go and get challenged than going right there. That's going to be a crazy atmosphere on Saturday.
Yeah, it always is. I actually have only played there one time. The way the scheduling works, we've always played them at home. But, yeah, definitely bizarre. That's like a baseball field combined with football field. Very unique setup. There's no visitor bleachers, so the home people are, like, right behind this field and then bring a lawn chair.
Yeah.
You're up on the hill type of deal.
Uh-huh.
But a cool place to play nonetheless, right? And they're a very good team. And, yeah, you're right. If they have the tiebreaker for automatic playoff bid, so if they win, they're in. But like you talked about, great players. Their coach has done a phenomenal job. They've been at the top of the conference they've joined. We've been in some battles with them as a staff, and have been very fortunate to come off on. I think we're 3-1 as a staff against their staff, or whatever you want to say that.
Sure,
but
yeah.
We've been in some great games with them. They've been very competitive, and so for us, it'll be really important to to show up and understand it will be a hard environment because there's a lot of big time line on there. It's our last game regardless. It just is. You win, lose, or draw, right? And so for them, there's so much on the line. If they win, they get to go to the playoffs. From my understanding, the first time in their school's history. So there's a lot on the line, right? And it's a huge challenge for them, just like it's a challenge for us. But with that comes some pressure, and for us, we get to be free and go let it rip, and hopefully play our best brand of football. What we told our young men is, you're good enough to win this game, right? We just went toe to toe with the number 10 team in the country. We're about to play number 13 or 16 or whatever they are. If we play to our potential, man, there's no reason not to go out there with a lot of confidence. And our guys have had great weeks, so that'll be really fun. They have some talented players that I'm sure we'll talk about. But, yeah, there's a lot on line for our program, and what a great way to go play really well and propel us into our offseason, which will start, very shortly because we're that excited about next year anyway.
Yeah. Well, the players, I think it's pretty simple. Malik Nesbitt's where you start on the offensive side. He's been a force. I think that was a unique thing about Avila. I think when they first entered, I think the one thing that we all thought about was, all right, they're going to throw deep, they're going to stretch you out. But really they've adjusted to where they're not really a power-running team, but they're not afraid to run the ball. Yeah. And they will run against you with a talented tailback like Malik. And they also have a quarterback who really fits their scheme too. If you're going to run the football, he's a very athletic kid, and I know that's going to make it really challenging. You got to play defensive sound football. And then defensively, I know maybe it's not quite as fundamentally sound, but you don't need to be fundamentally sound sometimes when you have freak athletes that can shoot off and blitz and do other things. Nick Furlow didn't have a chance to play last year. He's back, All-American linebacker, who I have a lot of respect for because the dude is just a freak. He's an athletic guy, and like I said, those are just a few names right there, but those are probably the biggest things going into this game.
Yeah, well, both are Player of the Year type of candidate kids, right? Malik Nesbitt was co-offensive Player of the Year last year, and then, we've known about Nick for a long time. I know Malik Nesbitt's in his COVID year, so he's playing as a fifth year, so he's going to be an old guy who's played a lot of football, and he's run the ball really hard, and he's been really hard on this conference. We've always fared pretty well against them. We've been a really good run defense team for the last several years, and so it'll be fun to watch him, and we're going to make sure that we have our best plan for him, but certainly stop him. And now what they have added is more of a quarterback run game than they've had in the past. And I'm drawing
Eli, I think is his first name.
Yeah,
Williams,
there you go.
I think maybe.
Yeah, so I'll call him Eli, just not to be disrespectful anyway. But
yeah,
Eli,
sure.
Man, long, and he can throw the ball. And then when you've added now the quarterback run game with his ability to pass, it really has taken their program to another level offensively. And so it really is your hands full. So then you got to decide as a staff, what are you going to do? Right? Are you going to scoot back, all right, and spread out and to make it as simple as possible? And now Malik has some running lanes, or pack it in, and now you have this dynamic quarterback who can take advantage of that. And so they've done a good job of building a system around their kids. And so a lot of respect to Coach Benavidez. He's actually been a very cool guy, a friend that we started together in this conference. And so we've been in some battles, and they've done a really good job. And so that will be the challenge for us is, can you limit who do you limit? And then once you do that, how do you adjust when we see how they kind of play their own chess game against our defense? And so it'll be fun to watch. And, man, what's cool is our kids, man, defensively have answered every challenge they've gotten. And so it'll be fun to see how that matchup goes.
Yeah, can't wait. All right, I think that's going to do it for us here today. So, Coach, thank you so much. EK, thank you so much, and best of luck to you this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Harrison, head football coach at Friends University, special teams coach and recruiting coordinator Eric Kelly here to my left. I love it when I do that, when I lean over and people go, all right, it's either a wave or this. It's pretty good stuff. I like that. Oh, man, they're both here on the Friends University Coaches Show from Chicken Max. It is Friends and Avila coming up on Saturday, 1 o'clock kick there in Kansas City. The season about to come to an end for Friends University football, so that means next week will be our final one, unless Coach Harrison says, I don't want to talk to you anymore. So we'll see.
We're in there. We're going to do it. We'll make it happen.
Okay, there you go. So we'll have one more coming up next week here from Chicken Max. Friends coming off that loss to number 10 Southwestern, 28-0, but we'll see if they have another upset bid in mind this weekend in Kansas City. All right, well, we're here at Chicken Max, 3 locations in Wichita. We're at the West and Maple location, 325 Southwest Street. Chicken Max, locally owned and hatched right here in Wichita, known for their legendary sandwiches, taking the chicken sandwich to the max. Their smoked chicken is smoked in almond wood every day, several times a day in each location, giving it a fresh, unique flavor. It's every size, like the mac and cheese, mashed potatoes and gravy, potato salad, coleslaw, and much more. Club salads and power bowls with their smoked chicken for a healthy choice. Several sauces unique to Chicken Max. We thank them for their support all throughout the year. That does it for us here tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week. Talons up.